Hello, good afternoon. I'm Dominique, and today my team members, Nawaf, Patricia, Charles, Nick, and I are going to be talking about our plans for Project 5. We're all students at Wayne State University, which is a distinguished research university, and we've taken plenty of research courses as well as team project courses, so we're excited to bring you our proposal today. So, from this, we're going to talk about our overview for the project. The topic and the background and objectives are going to be covered by myself. That is important is going to be covered by my teammate Nick. Then Patricia will be talking about our proposal outline. Charles will take it over from there, talking about team member responsibilities, communication, and accountability. And then Nawaf will cover our breakdown schedule that we have for Project 5. And then we will all come back together to communicate our summary as well. So the first thing that we're going to get into is the background and objectives. And the main problem that we found was that there was a lack of accommodation for physically handicapped students throughout Wayne State University campus in the classrooms. To scale it back, because the university is a very big place, we decided to focus on State Hall specifically because it is one of the most commonly used buildings for big lecture halls and all of that. So we're going to address the handicap tables, the elevators, and the ramps throughout the building of State Hall. So the proposal that we're going to do is that we want to have more accommodating classrooms with handicap accessible tables in most of the classrooms. We would also like to improve the maintenance and repair service for elevators throughout the building so that classrooms are easily accessible and that the elevators don't spend a majority of the time broken or non-operational. From there, we'd also like to talk about more ramps in various parts of the buildings and throughout the classrooms so that those can be more accommodating. And then I'm going to hand it over to my teammate Nick, who will talk about why this project has been so important to us.
This project is important. For one, our proposal will enhance mobility around campus. It will make it so that people with physical disabilities don't feel restricted when they can't access certain parts of campus. Our proposal would also affect the freedoms of people with a physical disability. It would make these people feel like they aren't being discriminated based on their disabilities and give them freedoms of going more places on campus. The ability to access more academic buildings would increase interaction between people with a handicap and the general student body. This would also give them better access to more activities on campus. If students with disabilities feel more comfortable in the classroom, they will have better opportunities to improve in the class setting. Having more classrooms that are handicap accessible give them more options on what classes they can take and where they can go. In State Hall, there's generally only one handicap seat located in the back of the classroom with no access to the rest of the room. This is an issue because some people have trouble learning from the back of the room, and someone who doesn't require a handicap seat could be sitting in their seat. If there was an increased number of handicap desks in the classrooms, this would ensure that a student gets the seating arrangement he or she needs in the correct position they need to learn in. Next, Patricia will walk you through our proposal outline.
All right, so for our proposal outline, so this is basically how we've decided to section off our paper and what information and we want to research and include. So we've got the introduction, the beginning discussion portion, which is the body, and then finally a conclusion. So to start, we have an introduction and then a background. The background includes addressing our target audience, so who will be affected by our proposal, and we discuss what issue we are addressing. And then in the criteria, this is a set of rules that we created in order to assess the effectiveness of our proposal in solving the issue. Then in the main portion, we've got the proposal, which is where we'll be discussing the details on three main points that we want to discuss, which is addressing the issues of desks, elevators, and ramps on campus. Then benefits and drawbacks is where we'll discuss the benefits and drawbacks of each of those points. Feasibility and effectiveness will address how easy it will be to implement our proposal and effectiveness will use the criteria to judge whether or not it was effective in solving our problem. And then finally, in this section, we address cost, which is basically how much money or resources we need in order to execute this change. Then finally, in conclusions, we have a summary and then recommendations, which is a set of steps or a set of steps that we recommend the audience or the reader to perform in order to execute this change. And then next is Charles, who will be discussing how we've decided to distribute the tasks for this project and communication and accountability for our group.
Yes, thank you, Patricia. I think that communication and distributing the workload is something really important in working in a team setting. So, during the summer, a lot of us have jobs or other summer classes that makes it difficult to work as a team and get a lot of stuff done. So we thought that splitting up tasks and giving people specific roles would make it easier on them and make it possible to put the best project forward. So as far as the tasks that we split up, Dominique will be covering the introduction, the background, the criteria, and the proposal. So hopefully she can start us off strong with a description of what our project is going to be like for the audience so that they know what's coming next. And then me, Nawaf, and Nick will be covering the benefits and drawbacks. We have all of us on that because that's one of the most important parts of our project. It'll take up a large portion of the body. And in here, we'll put forth our argument about why our proposal is necessary. And then we'll also present ideas from the opposing standpoint. And then hopefully we can rebuttal those ideas to further persuade the audience into our proposal. And then Patricia will come in with a feasibility and effectiveness and cost. And so in this section, she'll talk about how Wayne State, our audience, can effectively and efficiently put forth our idea and make it actually happen. And we'll talk about like the realistic cost that goes along with that, just so Wayne State can see if it's worth it on their end. And hopefully it is after our paper. And then I'll finish it off with the summary and recommendations and, put it in a nice little box about what we did and what we discussed, and then what our group thinks can be done. And then moving on, we'll get to communication. So far, we've been using WhatsApp for group discussion. This is easy because it lets us talk in a group chat and answer any quick questions or, check in on each other and make sure everything's going well. Google Docs and Google Slides come in really handy with collaboration. I think we all learned in Project 1 that a software with a lot of collaboration is important for online learning, especially in times like these when we unfortunately can't get together in person. We're able to edit our work together in real time, which is nice. And then Microsoft Teams comes in handy for not only this, recording our presentations, but also if we want to have a longer meeting discussing what we're doing in our research, and if anyone needs help with anything, we can all hop on and talk about the project more rather than just texting about it. So far, we've been trying to do weekly check-ins, making sure that everyone is on top of things and knows what we're doing for the week. So someone will just text in the group chat and we can talk about what we're doing. Also, informing others of our schedule and time is very important. For this project, we thought about doing it at a different time, but unfortunately something came up for me. So I asked the group if we could change it, and everyone was really helpful in that. We changed the time we were recording this to make it work for everyone. And we'll continue to do that going forward. We'll try to be as flexible with our schedule to work together. And if there are any problems that arise with that, then we'll voice it. And then also just holding each other accountable is something that in any team aspect is important. We'll make sure that all of our work is evenly distributed and that everybody knows exactly what the responsibilities are so that there's no question about what they're supposed to be done. And if anybody feels like they don't have enough work, they can ask for more, or if they feel like they're doing too much, we can try and distribute it out more. We want to make sure that everyone has enough, because not only will that help us make sure that we're not taking on too much, but it'll also help them make sure that they get a good grade for the project and that we're all doing in this together. So next, Nawaf will talk about our schedule going forward.
Thank you, Charles. So starting from June 15, we are going to send some questions to the Student Disability Services, asking about their student services and what's provided in Wayne State University buildings. This will help us in our research and what to focus on. When it's done, we will have all the data needed to start working on our research. Everyone will have his or her assigned subject to research. We will, of course, help each other when we're facing difficulties because, like, some subjects are heavier than others. Next week, we will start finishing up our proposal draft, which is due on July 8th. The week after, we will be editing our proposal based on our professor or classmates' feedbacks, and just to make sure all the information is well organized and it's in a nice flow. On July 20, it's a very important week because that's when all the group will have to work together to organize and put the paper, all the pieces together and get the paper done and start working on our presentation. On July 22nd, it's when we get together and record our presentation. Our due date will be July 27 for both the presentation and the proposal. This is our schedule for this project, and if we needed to change anything in the schedule due to other updates, we are very flexible. And moving on to summary, we'll all be participating, starting with Dominique.
Hi there. So, to wrap up kind of what this whole presentation is going to be about, I'm going to start off with my first segment, which is what our overall goal for Project 5 is. And that's really to increase the physical accommodations for buildings and classrooms through more handicapped desks that are accessible in varying classrooms throughout State Hall, the maintenance and repair of elevators to make sure those are fully operational throughout the semester and to make it easier to get into classrooms and to make sure that there's ramps and other stuff around the building so that there's more opportunities for people to be able to navigate State Hall.
Our why was to increase mobility around campus for those with handicaps, so people do not feel restricted when they cannot access certain parts of campus, and make people feel like they are not being discriminated for their physical disabilities.
The proposal outline is just a look at how we've decided to split up our paper in order to split up the responsibilities and decide what research would be important to our project.
We've distributed the workload as evenly as we can and hope that that alleviates some of the pressure on certain team members. And we're also using as much communication as possible to work together and make sure that we all know what needs to be done and when that needs to be done.
We made sure that the schedule is convenient for all members of the group, and we will be changing it due to any updates, and we make sure with the schedule we will have all the project and the proposal draft done efficiently. Thank you guys so much for listening for our briefing, and if you have any question or concerns, please tell us.